Catch up on the hottest panels from Pulse 2026, the UK's leading conference for retail and e-com professionals. Whether you couldn't attend or had FOMO from sessions you missed on the day, there's no need to miss out on this amazing content. It's all available now on Inside Commerce. Dig in and enjoy.
I'm super excited to announce the next one, which is From Cult Brand to Global Business, Axel Arigato on Building with Intention. Let's have a big round of applause.
All right, great to be here. So a quick intro, my name is Marcus. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Damma. It's actually my second business because I had an e-commerce business before, which we scaled to 120 million or something like that. So I have a lot of operators experience and hopefully I can ask the right questions to Albin today. So do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, my name is Albin and I'm one of the co-founders of Axel Arigato, and up until 3 months ago I was the CEO, so almost 12 years, and now I'm trying to exit myself from the daily life of running a brand.
Yeah, and I think like Axel Arigato is like, we had like 2 brands that we really wanted as clients at Damma in Sweden. It was Acne Studios, which are a client, and then it was Axel Arigato, and I think we're going to talk a bit about why we also wanted you as a customer, because you have built this strong global brand, right? That's why we also want to work with you. But I think everyone wants to hear your story, like from the beginning, basically.
We only have 20 minutes here, so I think I need to cherry pick what the story is. But you know, this goes back to 2013 when time was very different. Max and I, my co-founder, we were at that time 25, 26 years old, and everything that we were thinking about was who are we as consumers and what are we missing as consumers. So like we didn't really have a strategic plan. It was more about we did target ourselves, and therefore everything was quite authentic and genuine in the sense. And it's first the last years when strategy has been a must, something that we were forced to do. But it was all coming from seeing gaps in the markets, seeing how it used to be working in the old world. That's kind of pre-Spotify, pre-Netflix, pre-Instagram and all that, and how we were seeing how it was going to work post that, because it was we launched in the middle of everything there. It's quite easy to say now that of course you need to be on TikTok and so on, but at that time brands were still not on Instagram, and since they were not there, they also didn't adopt how consumer consumed or how people consumed different kinds of media in whatever shape it was.
So how did you think about brand building back then compared to now? Like what has changed, and or is it still the same old beliefs where you started with, but that sometimes you forget along the journey, right?
Absolutely. It's like you think that you're more wise today than yesterday, but it's not always the case, because you go with the flow, you go with the wind, and there are new things happening all the times, and you adapt to that, and everything goes in cycles. What we applied at that time, which was very helpful for us, was a top of mind thinking, because I say Instagram then because that was our way into building awareness and becoming a global brand. But before that, before 2014, many brands were still kind of adopting releasing fashion. Now I'm speaking about releasing 2, maybe 4 collections a year, and they produce content with that. But where we came from with the multi-brand was like, what was the latest thing? What's new? It drove most traffic, whether it was on, you know, the equivalents of Zalando at that time, because Zalando was still not big, up to Net-a-Porter, which was at that time the most prominent luxury multi-brand website. And we wanted to see like, this is what's happening online, and we wanted to do things all the time, like the top of mind thinking. And that's why we came up with the concept called Drop of the Week. So every week we launched at least one new product, and even though we didn't have products in stock, we had to fake stock, and they were on a truck in France, Germany, wherever. And we had to, force ourselves to produce content and always have kind of a dialogue with our followers or hopefully customers at the end. So, while I still think that top of mind is very important and relevant, because you don't have a pod today and release one episode every quarter. It needs to go more frequent at that, but we're also being targeted with shit all the time. So I think that top of mind is maybe still important, maybe not as important. You need to be more sort of precise in what are you communicated, what is the purpose of it, and who's your target group, and what's your why, and what's your reason to exist, and all those kinds of buzzwords and so on.
Yeah, but okay, top of mind, it sounds nice, right? Everyone wants to be top of mind, but how do you actually build it? Especially now when kind of attention span are super low, right? Because of all the apps and everything. Like, how do you think about that?
I think it's very important to own something. Again, what I'm thinking about, this might sound a bit sad, but let's say if I die today or tomorrow, will I be missed? And if the answer is no, what am I doing here? I need to change what I'm doing. I want to be liked. And the same is as us as a brand. If we would not exist tomorrow, for whatever reason it is, what would our customers, what would our followers miss with us? And that, I think, it's coming to authenticity, being genuine, like having something that maybe no one else is offering out in the market. And there are so many brands out there, and like the world doesn't need more footwear brands, in all honesty. There are enough. The world doesn't need more ready-to-wear brands either, or other things, but that doesn't make it impossible to start a new brand. You just need to be true to yourself and find something else, because again, it comes with cycles. So now for us, building community, driving community, inspire community, and be inspired by community are all very important to us, but it's about sort of what is our role to play there. And today, everyone is pretty much aware about what everyone is doing. So it's very hard to be on your own on something. And that, I think, it's the tricky part right now.
Yeah. And back to your journey, you were very early like D2C brand, but you also realized that you wanted to meet your customer like in a physical space or in a brick and mortar, right? Tell us how that began. You told me a funny story.
Yeah. We, and as many new brands, we used to be 100% digital. 100% of our revenue came from our website. But at the time of when we launched, and brands before and some later, it was usually the opposite. You maybe started with 100% wholesale and so on. And for us, it's about, showing our universe, our DNA, and we couldn't do that in a good way through just the website that we had, especially with the limited resources that we had, and still have to some extent for that. So it was truly important for us to open up that physical space to not only meet people, but also, again, present them to our universe. So we launched 8th of July 2014. In September, we came here to London. We met with Shaftesbury, which was and still is a part of like the main landlord in Soho. So in September 2014, our revenue was 20,000 euros that month. And we said that we wanted to sign a big lease. And she was obviously thinking, like, who the fuck are these guys? But we were quite determined in what is it that we wanted to do. And they showed us different spaces around Covent Garden, Neal Street, which is like the footwear street there. But we said, this is not the vibe that we want. So we kept on being in a dialogue, and we met them, and everything that we said, we actually lived up to that. So that did help us. A year later, this space in Soho came up, and we started to become, more frustrated, less patience. We started to look in New York. We started to look in Paris, because we wanted out of Sweden. We wanted to create a global brand already from that, and we was like, make it or break it. Finally, which I still consider to be the best store in our retail fleet in Soho here, came up, and we really wanted that store. And I did live in London 10 years before that. So I'm still in love in Soho. I was in love in Soho. I did know that even it's a maze, that's a transition street. And we did everything to get that space, and fortunately we did end up signing it, winning that bid, probably because we paid the highest price. But eventually it was definitely worth it. And 5 weeks or something before we opened it, I remember I got a call from Max, my co-founder. He was in the store, and we were like quite short on cash then. And he said, Albin, like, we might go into bankruptcy soon, but we will have a great fucking looking store anyway. And that was like a big thing to go from Sweden, 9 employees, 10 employees, open up it here, huge risk. Pretty much every expert that we talked about said you shouldn't do this, but it really felt right in our guts, and we so much believed in we need to meet our customer. Digital is important, but there is more out there.
And now you have some stores in different locations. Like, tell us about them, and why do you decide to open so broadly from a geographic perspective as well?
Yeah, it's actually probably a stupid idea in one way, because you wanna have economies of scale, and that's the last thing that we do with our strategy. But we see economies of scale in another way, so not only from a retail perspective, but including online then, and wholesale maybe, and you know, people are. We try to open up in spaces or in places where we think that our customer is traveling to, whether that's New York, Paris, here in London, Berlin, now Dubai too. So we try to find some kind of similarity in between these places, and we open up these hubs as like it's a retail store. It's a place where transactions needs to happen, but it's also a place where people should hang out and discover new things. And the last part, I think that we were better with that in our past than what we are today, but now we're trying to speed that up again or amp that up.
So you've been in business for 12 years, right? So I could feel many times when you were scaling so fast and you work so hard, you get into kind of a bubble. Like, you can't really see straight, you can't really feel what the market is seeing maybe, or how to build a brand and so on. Have you felt that as well during your years, like lost yourself into the corporate bubble kind of?
110%. I think, like, driven by myself, but also like I can say I've done so many mistakes, and we have done many mistakes, and one of them was that we did become kind of a lost teenager. I think that we maybe did think a bit too highly about ourselves. We did think that everything that we were taking ourselves on was going to be a success, which was like more in the beginning, and we thought that was going to continue. Unfortunately, it didn't happen that way, that we ended up taking too many projects on us, spread ourselves too thin, and we became kind of a lost teenager as well. I said earlier that we were quite fortunate that we started with ourselves in mind, but that kind of changed, personal preferences changed and so on, so the brand changed a bit too. And we had to go back to ourselves and truly get back to what's our why, even though that sounds like a bit corny, but what's our reason to exist? And it's a lot about that. So last year we did, I worked a lot with the brand platform, so it ended up being like 65 very dense slides about who is Axel Arigato, who are we, and why are we the ones that we are. So not saying anything about what things should we be doing, how we should be doing things, but truly about this, so that there is this frame, so we can move on from that, because we couldn't scale from the ideas of Max and myself into becoming a global organization. So from a brand perspective, taking a step back so that we soon hopefully can start to run again. And now I'm like, if I would have been here a year ago, I wouldn't be so positive, but now I actually think that we are doing good things again, and it looks much better.
And I truly believe you, because you are not a positive guy if you haven't have proof that you have seen some lights in the tunnel, so to speak. But okay, 2026, what are you doing differently from now on, so to speak, and how do you kind of utilize everything that you have learned during your entrepreneurial years, but also utilize everything that has opened up in terms of like markets or brands and how to build top funnel and so on?
So I'm in a quite fortunate position right now where, as I said before, I'm not the CEO anymore, and that's helped me to sort of, open up more time in my days and not focus on everything across the whole business, actually coming back to what I think truly matters, which is the customer, what's our customer offering proposition from a product, content, marketing perspective, experience perspective. And at the end of the day, we are a brand, most of the people here are brands too. That's our purpose, to offer something unique and something much better than what's out there. So it's kind of back to the roots, in all honesty, and not speak about fluff. And what I've learned is to not accept things because they are okay. And I think like in the beginning, and Max was a master in that, like only accept things that were truly very, very good. I think we kind of let that go. The more we scaled, the more people came in, people with experience from bigger organizations and so on. We were also flattered about that. But at the end of the day, what I've realized is that while people might have a really good experience, great know-how, intelligent, etc., they have at least so far never proven to be better at Axel Arigato than us. And that's what we did Twist. So while I'm just taking an example now, no real examples, or it is not attached to the real world, but let's say someone, let's just take Alessandro Michele at Gucci that did a really good job as a creative director. He might have not done as good job of in our world, nor the CEO that I don't even know the name of, but they might have done really good things there, but it wouldn't have been good in our world. You cannot just white label an idea or a feeling or anything. You need to get into what is it here that we should be doing. So that, I think, is sort of a long answer on your question, but not accept okay anymore. And back to the basics.
I think it makes sense, right? It's not, the time doesn't make it more complicated, really. Like when you start, you do stuff really easy or like simplified, right? You just take one step and one more step and a third step, and then when you get bigger, it always gets so much more complicated. Question is if that's what needs to happen, so to speak. But I think like when I'm at these kind of events, I always like to hear a funny story or something that has happened during these 14 years. Do you have anything to share there?
I have a few. I think one story that tells a lot about who Max and I are, but maybe more was that we were going to open up a store in Stockholm. I think this is in 2017, and we started to sign a 4 months lease. So it was just a pop-up, and therefore we couldn't invest so much into it. So Max and I, we went up to Stockholm on a Friday, and we obviously, as we always did, went out, came home, 3, 4 a.m. And then on the Saturday, which was the reason why we were there, we were going to repaint the store and save that like £2,000, euros or something. But we ended up saying, because we were also too hangovered, we said, fuck it, well, why should we do that? But then we said, what should we do now instead? And it was 2 p.m., 3 p.m. on a Saturday. And for the ones that don't know that, here in Sweden, we have a monopoly when it comes to liquor. So you can't get booze there, drinks, beers, whatever, at that time after 3 p.m. in Sweden on a Saturday. So anyway, we decided, let's throw a party here. And that space is right in the middle of Stockholm. And we had nothing. So I had to go out on Facebook. I need booze for 200-300 people. We need a carpenter to build a bar. We need security. We need DJs. We needed everything. 6-7 hours later, we had everything. So we had a great techno party that actually looked like it was prepared for a few weeks. And it was one of the best parties that we have ever had, actually. And then on Monday, the landlord calls me, and this is the landlord that kind of owns everything there in that location in Stockholm. They said, "Did you have a party there on Saturday?" I said, no. We had just some family and friends over to just celebrate that we're opening up the space this week. He knew that I lie. I knew that he knew that I lied, but we left it there. But we're still partners, and we still rent from them. So I think that's a very fun story, actually.
Yeah, that's a nice one. All right, time is running out. Last question that I need to answer, because otherwise my colleagues get mad at me. You've been working with Damma now for a year. What's your thoughts?
I think you're decent. You're okay. No, in all honesty, I wouldn't be here if I wouldn't be happy. I think that first of all, you have the right intention. You do not only answer our questions, but you ask the right questions. You're on top of the things. It's very obvious that you have been operators on your own, and that's people that I trust first and foremost. But I think we share curiosity, and we share a vision of always wants to become better. We talked about. You asked me before what's new here in 25, 26, and becoming better, becoming more accurate with the sort of digital offering through all the different parameters that it means. You guys have definitely helped us with that, and one can see it if you look at our Google Trends or our current growth right now. So, yeah.
I truly appreciate you being here and taking the time. I know you have a busy schedule, so thank you so much, Albin. I mean,
not the first time.
Not your name. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Marcus. Thank you.